Yo, what is up guys? This is your boy Legendary here, and today people, I'm going to be discussing some really cool new character cards that got revealed for the new Duelist pack, Legendary Duelist 6. I'm really excited for this pack. It's going to be really cool. Or Legendary Duelist Magical Hero, that's the TCG name of it. But anyway, the whole point is there's some new cards that came out just today. I'm not going to be speaking about the old cards that came out. Maybe I'll do that in a separate video. I don't know. I'm kind of late on it. There might be no point in all the Dark Magician stuff. But there's one new card that came out for each main character. Yuki, Jaden, Yusei, Yuma, and Yuya. Not Yusaku. Yusaku's not in this pack. But every other main character got new support today. Just one new card for each one got revealed today. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Yeah, let's just hop right into it because it's some really cool stuff. Anyway, we're gonna start off with Yugi's card, Dark Magic Secrets. I don't even know what to say about this card. This card is just so good. Anyway, I'll read the effect. It's a quick play spell card. Activate one of these effects. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control or in your hand, including at least one Dark Magician or one Dark Magician Girl as materials. So it's a quick play fusion card for Dark Magician fusions and Dark Magician Girl fusions. So, I mean, what can you say? It's really awesome. Also, its second effect is Ritual Summon one Ritual Monster from your hand by tributing monsters you control or in your hand, including at least one Dark Magician or one Dark Magician Girl whose combined levels are greater than or equal to the level of the Ritual Monster. So, basically, it's a really powerful card that allows you to either fusion summon or ritual summon, but you have to use Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl as one of the materials, which is really not that hard. And it's a quick play, so it's awesome, and you could use materials from your hand and field, so it's really good. I mean, it's very straightforward, it's very to the point. This card is extremely powerful. Yugi did not need more support. For competitive play, sure, yeah, Dark Magician could use more support, but for his character deck, which is what this channel is about, his deck did not need more OP cards, and this is very strong. I mean, you don't ritual summon that often when we use Yugi's deck, but that's more rare. I would have to build a more specific build for that, especially since his only ritual really is Magician of Black Chaos, which doesn't have an effect. And I'm talking about anime Yugi, not manga Yugi, you know, with the Dark Side of Dimension stuff. That's completely different. Talking about anime Yugi. But yeah, so this card is really strong, it's really powerful. Just allows you to easily fusion. Mainly it's the first effect that matters. Fusion summoning a Dark Magician fusion monster. That's really what's gonna matter here. But yeah, that's a Dark Magic Secret. It's really strong, really powerful. It's actually kind of nuts how strong that is. Next is Generation Next. I'm not going to review this card right now. I'm actually going to review this card last. The reason why is because I have a lot to say about this card. Some good, mostly a lot of bad. And I don't want to just like kind of start off the video, you know, with negativity. So I'm just going to skip to this later because I have more thoughts on this than I do for all the other cards. So I'm going to skip to that last, and you know, I'm going to save Jaden for last. But next we got the continuous spell card Synchro Chase. This is for Yusei, obviously. Its effect reads, if you synchro summon a warrior, synchron, or stardust synchro monster, you can target one of the materials used for that synchro summon in your graveyard and special summon it in defense. It's really good. It's awesome. It allows you to get back one of your materials, so that way you could go for more synchro plays and continue going for your Quasar. You know, that's what it helps you with. You can only use this effect of Synchro Chase once per turn. Obviously, they had to do that, otherwise that would be busted if you keep doing that. So once per turn makes perfect sense. Allows you to, you know, synchro climb a little bit more, but not too much more. But still, it's very strong because Yusei's deck does swarm a lot and synchro a lot. If you get the right cards and the right setup and everything, you know, you can really swarm hard with Yusei's deck. But anyway, its last effect reads, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of the effects of your synchro monsters whose original names include Warrior, Synchron, or Stardust. So, this card is stupid. Alright, I mean, the first effect was already, you know, really good. It's helpful, it recovers one of your materials so that you can keep going for more synchros. But its last effect can arguably say it wasn't even that necessary, because it basically means your opponent can't chain to anything. To any of your warrior synchro monster effects, like Chunk Warrior, Road Warrior, just whatever synchros he has that has warrior in its name, the synchrons, synchros, like Formula Synchron and Stardust Dragon's effect, those cards cannot be negated or cannot be chained to. Wait, your opponent cannot activate. Yeah, I can't chain to it, so I just have to let it happen. It's funny. I was talking to Yusei, Fudo, or Robbie, and we were talking about it today, and I just said like, yo, like I'm just gonna have to sit back and let you do whatever you want, because honestly, I can't do anything. I'm just gonna let you do your thing. There's no point of even trying. You just go off. Don't even bother. I'm just gonna lay back. You just do whatever you want, and if I can stop whatever's gonna happen, then so be it. But I can't chain to anything. So, for example, Jaden's deck, like let's say I use the effect shot on Stardust Dragon's effect, I can't, because I can't chain to it, so I wouldn't be able to use that. I can't negate Formula Synchron's effect when it activates and you draw a card, or when you activate the effect to synchro summon on your opponent's turn. Like any effect that activates, I just can't do anything. I just have to let it happen. So that sucks. That sucks. This makes Yusei's deck really, really strong. Obviously, there's no way to search this card, so that would be really busted in Yusei's deck. But who knows? There's still more support. Maybe they'll make a search for this card. I hope not, though, because this card is already arguably too strong, specifically because of that second. The first effect is already really good, but the second effect really just makes it that much more OP, stronger, because like you just can't chain to it. Like Yusei's deck already negates a lot, so just imagine this card, which doesn't even allow you to try to negate his negations or anything or any of his effects for his warrior synchros. So this is gonna make it a lot more difficult. Obviously, we got to do some testing. Maybe it won't be that bad, but it's gonna be pretty bad, I think. But yeah, Synchro Chase, very good card, very good support. Dark Magic Secrets, very good support for Yugi. They're both really great cards. And next, we're going to go to some Yuya support. So, there's a new monster for Yuya called Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Koto. But yeah, so that's going to be very hard to say repeatedly. All his Gagaga Go Go Zubaba Dodo monsters, like, it's already hard enough to say that, like, consistently when you build Yuma's deck. Just imagine Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Koto. Like, how do you say that, like, consistently? Like, I said that pretty well right there, but consistently repeated over and over again, it's going to be ridiculous. But anyway, this card is actually really good. I love this card a lot. So, its effect is, he's a Warrior Earth level 4 monster, obviously, level 4. You got to have level 4s all day. 1800 attack, 100 defense, so good stat line, good attack points, that's great. Its effect reads, if you control a Zubaba or Gagaga monster except this card, you can special summon this card from your hand. Very simple, straightforward effect. I love it. There's no restriction to that. It's just, if you control Zubaba or Gagaga, special summon it. So you have Gagaga Magician on the field, special summon it, you got 2 level 4s. If you control Zubaba, you can special summon this. You can't overlay though, because the other Zubaba monsters are only level 3. So maybe they'll make another Zubaba monster in this set. That way they both synergize together, because the other Zubaba monsters are level 3. So you can't overlay using this card if you special summon it, while you control another one. So it's gonna be kind of tricky with that, but it works with all the Gagagas, which is more important because the majority of his deck is mostly Gagaga monsters anyway. So that's fine. That's not that big of a deal. Anyway, its other effect is you can target one Go-Go-Go or Do-Do-Do monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except Xyz monsters. You can only use this effect of Zubaba Bancho Gagaga Ko once per turn. So yeah, basically its other effect is you could just revive one from the graveyard for more Xyz plays. It restricts you to only Xyz summoning, but that's fine. It doesn't matter because we're talking about character decks here. For all those who don't know, I'm reviewing these cards based on character deck knowledge, not competitive play. This is actually a good card for competitive too, I would think. It's more the first one because it doesn't restrict you from from only like doing XC summon or whatever. So obviously competitively you can't do that because, you know, links and stuff and blah blah blah, Master Rule 4 garbage. But its first effect is always still live, so even for competitive decks you could still swarm the field with this card and go for some plays. But so it's not that bad, but its second effect won't work so well on Master Rule 4, but it's fine, but I review all cards from, you know, the perspective of the character decks. How do these cards, it's a duelist pack anyway, it's supposed to support the characters decks and whatnot, so that, you know, I should review it from that standpoint. From that standpoint, this card is absolutely amazing. Yuma's deck kind of struggles getting a bunch of level 4s out on the field. He has a lot of combo cards that help do that, but you know, sometimes, you know, you gotta have the right stuff in the graveyard or the right ones in your hand and stuff. But this one's super easy. You know, you just special summon it onto the field. I wish its first effect was if you control any of them, Zubaba, Gagaga, Gogo, or Dolo, you could special summon it. I wish it was more like that, because then, you know, it would flow smoother. That way I definitely never have to worry about which one I have on the field, because I'll automatically get him summoned. But it makes sense because in his name, he's Zubaba and Gagaga, so it makes sense that you have to have one or the other on the field to summon it. So it makes sense. It's fine. And then its second effect is just great because, you know, the Go-Go-Go monsters work very well from the, you know, you send them to the graveyard and you can bring them back, and then that can trigger Ghost effect to bring back Go-Go-Go Golem, and you could go for some like more Xyz play. So this card is really helpful. It just allows you to swarm the field with a bunch of level 4s and then Xyz summon. So this should help a lot in Yuma's deck. I'm really happy with this card. It's really great. This card, and then Utopic, Automata, Pyro, whatever it's called, that card, they both really help out a lot. But yeah, I love this card. This card is amazing. I can't wait to use it. I'm really excited to use this card. But yeah, Yuma's card, another really good card for his deck. Really great support. And then we have Performa Pal Pop-Up, or Entermate Pop-Up. So this is a normal spell card. Send up to 3 cards from your hand or graveyard. Draw that many cards. Then if you have 2 cards in your Pendulum Zones, you can special summon 1 Performer Pal monsters, Magician, Pendulum monsters, and or Odd Eyes monsters with different names and levels between exclusive the pendulum scales of your cards in your Pendulum Zones up to the number of cards you drew. Very complicated effect to read. There's just so many words. If you do not special summon any monsters by this effect, I guess you lose 1,000 life points for each card in your hand. You can only activate 1 of these cards per turn. Alright, so this is where it starts going downhill a little bit. So this card is a very powerful card, but also a very risky card. It's an all or nothing kind of thing. Like, you really have to take a chance with this card. It has a huge downside. So send up to 3 cards. That's good. You don't have to send exactly 3 cards, so that's perfectly fine. And then you can draw that many cards. And then if you have 2 cards in your Pendulum Zones, you can special summon that from your hand if it's in between the scales of your Pendulum monsters. So it's kind of like an extra Pendulum summon, but it's not really a Pendulum summon. It's a special summon, which is good because then that allows you to Pendulum summon that turn also. So it's not that bad, but it could be better. But obviously what I like about it is that it's optional. Because it says draw that many cards. Then if you have 2 or more cards in the Pendulum Zones, you can special summon Performer Pal monsters. You can. But then if you choose not to, you take 1,000 for each card in your hand. So that can be very risky. Very risky. But it has a huge upside, because if you do send up to 3 and draw 3, and all of those are Entermates or Magicians or Odd Eyes monsters in your hand, and you already have the scales on the field, which most likely you will in Yuya's deck, then you could special summon all of them on the field. You won't take any damage, and now you have an overwhelming advantage on the field because you just have a bunch of monsters. So it's really good and potentially really bad. It's kind of a mixed bag, you know. My boy Yusei, he didn't really love this card a lot. He said this card is very it's just too risky. he wasn't a big fan of this card. I'm kind of a fan of it, but I see where he's coming from. That cost is so huge. I don't know why 1,000 life points for each card in your hand. That seems a bit excessive. But I get that this card is also made for competitive play too. Obviously, you play with 8,000 life points in real life, not 4,000. So this card could potentially KO you if you're doing a character duel with 4,000 life points. If you're doing a real life duel, 1,000 life points for each card might not really be that big of a deal. Who cares? But in a character duel, it can make a huge difference. So I could see that. It's a good card, though. I do like it. I think it has potential. For scripts, it's obviously perfect. We could always make it work to our advantage. Because it has a very powerful effect. Because you could swarm the field with all your monsters and not have to worry about anything. So yeah, you do have to have a setup on the field, though. You have to have your zones, and you have to have at least one card in your hand and hope that you draw into, you know, one of your monsters. But in your deck, you usually have more monsters than spells and traps, so most likely you will draw at least one of those monsters in your hand. But other than that, I think it's still pretty good, but I could see that the risk from it is so high that I don't blame anyone for not running this card, because it has such a huge downside. If you don't get it right, you're gonna take a lot. So obviously, don't activate this card really like crazy. You know, activate it when you have it set up. I mean, that's common sense, but still, just be careful. Just be very careful. I mean, it's cool because you get to send 3 and draw the same amount. So it kind of, you know, send 3 cards you don't really need and then draw 3, and that's great. And then if you do happen to have the zones, and you could just special summon them all without any trouble. So I think that's really great. But yeah, this card is good. It's okay. Very risky. Kind of a mixed bag. Really, it's between good and it could be potentially really bad, but it could also be potentially really good. So it's kind of in the middle. It's right there in the middle. But yeah, it's an okay card. We're gonna do some testing. Maybe it won't be that bad. We'll see how it works in Yuya's deck, and how much of a negative that last part of the effect really will be. But we'll see how that goes. Anyway, now we're gonna review the final card for Jaden Yugi, or Judai Yugi. Generation Next. First of all, I love the artwork for all of these cards. They all look amazing, and this artwork is just amazing. You got the classic heroes. You got Clayman, Vercingetorix, and Avion. It's so cool, man. Look, I was so excited to read this card, guys, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I am not in love with this effect. I am not. It actually really frustrated me because I was so excited for this, and then the effect was just like, why is it like this? I'll explain why when I read it, but it's a quick play spell card. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, choose up to one elemental hero monster, Karibo monster, or Neospatian monster whose attack are equal to or lower than the difference in life points between you and your opponent from your deck or graveyard, and add it to your hand or special summon it. But you cannot activate its effects or the effects of cards with the same name this turn. You can only activate one Generation Next per turn. So where do I begin? Okay. It's a search card, or a summon. Like, it searches a Neospatian, an elemental hero, or a Karibo monster, and you could either add it to your hand, which is good, and it's from deck or graveyard. So that's good. So it allows you to either search one or recover one, and you could either add it to your hand or special summon it. So it's not bad in concept. The bad part is, one, your opponents have to be lower than your opponents. That's honestly not that bad. You can work around that. The real problem, in my opinion, is you can only add a monster whose attack is equal to or lower than the difference between you and your opponent's life points. So that's the real problem here. So essentially, let's say I took 1,000 life points early in the game. I activate this card. I can add a monster with 1,000 or lower. I can add or special summon a monster with 1,000 or lower attack, because I took a, you know, the difference between our life points is very low. Is 1,000, so that's good. But then it also negates its effect, so then you can't really use it in that turn, so it kind of defeats the purpose somewhat. It's just, I don't like like, it's already, like, you have to be lower than your opponents to do that. In order to search Elemental Hero Neos, or even Elemental Hero Honest Neos, you have to have taken at least 2,500 points of damage throughout the duel. And it has to be a 2,500 point difference between your life points and your opponent's life points. So you essentially, it's very risky, because I'm thinking of it in a character duel. I'm like, well, if I'm dueling Yusei, I basically can't touch him. I have to purposely take enough damage just so I can search out Elemental Hero Neos or Honesty Neos or anything lower than that, just so I could add it or special summon it to the field. And it's just like, why? It requires me to be way too cautious. I have to be very careful with the amount of life points I'm taking and the amount of life points I'm dealing to my opponent. So I have to really be very, very cautious and careful about how I do it. You can do it, it's just, it seems like a lot of extra work to get there just to get one card that won't even really help that much, honestly, because its effect is also negated. Because I thought, alright, you could add Honesty Neos to your hand and then use its effect, you know, so when an elemental hero attacks you, discard it and it gains 2,500. But it specifically says you cannot activate its effect or the effects of cards with that same name that turn. So if I add Honesty Neos to my hand, I can't even use it that turn. So why? Like, that's the part that upset my boy Yusei the most, is the fact that it negated the effect, because that just felt very unnecessary. Like, why negate it? What's the point? What's the point? None of the elemental heroes do that many crazy things. Like, I get for competitive play, like, you summon Shadow Mist, Search, Mass Chain, blah blah blah. There's also Solid Soldier. Like, I get it. There's some elemental heroes that do really do have some really good effects. So I get why it's there for that sense, but it limits this card way too much, especially in a character duel. Like, literally, I can't really do anything. It's just, it's not that bad either. Like, it is a search card, so like I said, if you take 1,000 or lower, at the very least, you can search Avion and any one of the Neospatians. You won't get its effect, but at least you could search one of them out, or special summon it, which can help with contact fusion, because you got to have them on the field to contact fuse and this and that. But it's just so, it just almost doesn't even seem that worth it. Maybe when I test it out, it'll be a lot better. Maybe it'll be like, maybe just having that one little search. But I have to, like, always make sure to, like, have like at least take 1,000 damage so I could search something out. It searches out Karibo, which is cool too, but its effect is negated, so it won't really matter. Like, I usually use the anime effect of Winged Karibo, so you know, you don't take battle damage when it battles on the field. That's its anime effect. But it says you can't activate its effect, so searching it out or special summoning it is irrelevant, because its effect is negated. You can't activate it, so it really doesn't matter if you search Wing Karibo out, because it's negated. It's kind of stupid, really. What was the point of adding that? It really restricts it. And if I search Neospatian Air Hummingbird, I can't even gain life points either that turn that I use it. So it's just like, this is kind of like you use at the end phase of your opponent's turn to add or special summon something, and then on the next turn you can go off. But I mean, you might lose already by that point. So, like, it's a really strong late, okay, it's not a really strong late game card. It's a good, decent, okay late game card. It can help, but it's not that great. Now, you can use it during the end phase, because it says you can't use effects with that same name during that turn that you summon it or whatever, or add it to your hand. So you could do it during the end phase of your opponent's turn, and then on your turn you can activate its effect. So it's okay, it's better, but it's just like, like, I want to love it, but it's so situational, man. Your life points have to be lower. You You can only add something that's in between the difference between you and your opponent's life points, which means you always have to be in a losing situation in order to activate it. And if you want to add any of your high-leveled monsters, you need to make sure you took a whole lot of damage throughout the duel, and make sure that your opponent didn't take much of anything. So risky. It's just weird. I mean, maybe for competitive play this will be a lot better, just because the difference in life points is not that big of a deal. Maybe in competitive duels, because a lot of damage is dealt very fast in competitive duels, so that might not be that big of a deal. You usually take probably more than 3,000 damage in a turn, so this card will usually be alive by that point. I'm talking about in character duels. It's just so situational. It's very risky, and the reward for all that is not that high for taking all that damage. It's not high enough. I would really love it if this card, for that amount of risk, would allow you to add at least 2 monsters to your hand, or special summon 2 monsters. That would be so much better, because then that pretty much gives you materials for fusion summoning. So let's say the difference between you and your opponent's life points is 2,500. You can special summon Neos and a Neospatian from your deck, right? Because they're all 2,500 or lower. And then you can go for contact fusion, or you can special summon Elemental Hero, Avion and Burstinatrix on the field, because they're all in between that range. And then you activate like instant fusion, polymerization, whatever, to fusion summon them, or miracle fusion. So it could help you bring out your materials, but this only helps you bring out 1 monster. It's just too big of a cost, in my opinion, for 1 monster. It's a good comeback card, but it's not even that good of a comeback card, because you can't do much with that 1 monster, because you can't even activate it that turn. You have to wait a turn before you can use its effect. So it's like, it's super slow, super situational. I know this turned into a rant, but that's why I saved it for the end, because honestly all the other cards were just so much better and amazing. The Yuya card was okay. I think it has potential. It can be very risky too. So those 2 cards, this card, Generation Next, and Yuya's card, Performer Pal Pop-Up, are probably the worst cards in this box. They're not horrible, but they're not that amazing either. I'm very underwhelmed with Generation Next. I really was expecting more, and what frustrates me more is that Dark Magic Secrets has a fusion effect. Like, literally, if they had just copied and pasted this effect and put it on Generation Next instead of all this other nonsense, and then also allowed you to fusion summon an Elemental Hero fusion monster with materials from your deck as well. That's literally all they had to do. It would have been perfect. It would have been amazing. And that's it. They could have even called it Generation Next Fusion. Like, I don't know. It just feels really weird. Here comes Yuki with this powerful fusion card and ritual card, but mostly the fusion part. And Jaden, who is the fusion user, doesn't have a card like that. Like, why? Just why? I don't get it. It makes no sense. Obviously, I know there's going to be more support. I know he's going to get another support. I hope they give him an Elemental Hero fusion spell card that allows him to fusion summon using materials from the deck. Because honestly, that's all he really needs. And then his deck will be so much better. He has Miracle Fusion. He has enough polys and different poly type spell cards. What he needs is a fusion card that allows him to fuse materials from his deck, so he could go into his hero fusion plays much faster. That's what he needs. But yeah, I don't know. So this card is good. It's okay. It's very underwhelming for me. Not as good as I wanted it to be. It has way too many. It's like they were so afraid of this card being broken that they kept adding on more restrictions and more requirements, so that way it seemed balanced out. But they went just a little too far, or maybe arguably way too far, and then it just turned out to be just almost not worth it. Like, it's not that bad, but it just could be so much better. I mean, when you compare that card to Dark Magic Secrets or Synchro Chase or Zubaba Cho Gagaga Coat, like, when you compare it to those cards are so freaking good. Even to the Yuya card, yeah, it has a huge risk, but I feel like the reward is still really high. the reward for Generation Next isn't that high for the amount of restrictions and limitations that it has on it. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough about that. I'm not going to just continue ranting. You guys get the point. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you like Generation X? Do you think it's okay? Maybe I'm being too critical of it. Maybe I'm not seeing all the potential. Obviously, I still have to test this card out to really see its full potential, to see how bad or good it really is. You know, that's why testing is important, because sometimes you really just can't tell just by reading it alone. You gotta test it. So maybe when I test it, it'll be better. But what do you guys think of Generation Next? What do you guys think of Dark Magic Secrets, Synchro Chase, Tsubaba Chogagagako, and Performer Pal Pop-Up? Really cool cards. I'm really excited. Can't wait to see the rest of the support for everyone else. And yeah, I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm super excited to see what those new monsters do. Satellite Warrior, Elemental Hero Sunriser, I forgot, Performer Pal, something Magician. I forgot what it was called. And then the Gagaga Magician. So I'm really excited for all of those. I can't wait to see what they do. It's gonna be great. But yeah, until then, we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the negative commentary at the very end, but I'm just being honest. You know, when I first read it, I was underwhelmed, and you know, just thinking of all the different possibilities, I was just like, oh man, it's too restricted. But you guys get the point. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything. You mean the world to me. God bless you guys. See you guys in the next video. Gotcha.